Alan Kelly.
Thank you, Cahill. Firstly, on this critical day in our country, I would like to state the following for the record. It was truly an honour to serve with an Taoiseach in the Kenny as a minister in the last Dáil. An Taoiseach, today is a very special day for you, your family, for Fionnuala and all the children and all your extended relations. Congratulations on your achievement. A historic day for you, and I congratulate you on it. I believe history will be extremely kind to you, Taoiseach, who in the last government, along with Eamon Gilmore, Joan Burton and many others, guided this country through one of the most extreme crises Ireland has ever faced. Decisions were made that were difficult in the short term, but necessary to secure the long-term future of our country. The fact is that Fine Gael and Labour did secure that future. We achieved a huge amount, turned the country around and put it where it is now. However, I have to admit, I do fear that this government, given its make-up and its construct, will not be able to continue this trajectory while also maintaining the principle of fairness as much as is possible. I would also like to say that in all my dealings with Taoiseach, his staff and other Fine Gael cabinet colleagues, many of which are in front of me here, business was always conducted with honour, and there was for much of that time unity and sense of purpose about improving the country. I genuinely hope this carries on to the next government, and I extend my sincere congratulations to all those appointed here today. To each and every one of you, it's a great day for you, it's a great day for your families. May I particularly congratulate those who have been appointed for the first time. It's a fabulous day for you. I wish you the very best of luck. I also wish the best of luck to the three ministers who are taking over components of my own former department. And I think it's important that as I stand here, that I offer them any help I can in an orderly transition to the new government. When it comes to fairness, though, I think it's important that we look through the programme for government and what is referred in it. And it is very worrying the way in which it is constructed in many areas. For instance, there is no commitment in the programme for government for a living wage, which is something I believe, and many of us believe in this House, is absolutely necessary as we go towards a fair society. Or there's no commitment to continuing the work of the previous government under former Minister Jed Nash and the commitment to ending pay discrimination in the public service. We are no longer in a financial emergency, and this should be reflected, whether it is in the public service, whether it's in workers' rights, or ensuring that people have greater futures because of that. This document also appears to be very limited in its taxation measures, in its measures in relation to the redistribution of wealth, in the whole area of ensuring that people will have adequate income into the future as the economy grows. It's also very much absent from a healthcare side of things in the area of free GP care. In fact, it's silent on where this is going, and this is very worrying. Furthermore, throughout the document, and this is very clear to be seen from commitments that have already been made by the outgoing government, there are repeat commitments in relation to a whole range of areas, far too numerous to mention here. But if some of the independents think that there were new commitments given in many areas, they are wrong. When it comes to issues that relate to rural development, even, when it comes to issues in relation to jobs and regionalisations, when it comes to town and village renewal schemes, or many other areas as well in housing or other areas too. Colleagues, unfortunately, and I mean this, we now have a government, but it is built on sand. Everyone knows that there has never been a government in the history of this state created in such farcical circumstances. Over the last few months, and also over the last few hours. What we saw this morning on the vote for Taoiseach was bizarre and embarrassing for this House. Being frank, it was cringe territory. It was simply incredible. I never saw so many now government TDs with reluctant faces on them, looking at their phones, wondering what was going on in the last gap negotiations with independents who were trying to stroke out one last cave-in by Fine Gael outside this chamber. This is not new politics, unfortunately. This is old politics at its worst. While I wish it the best, we all know that this government is not viable in the long term. We have a programme for government whose figures simply cannot, and I mean this, cannot ever actually add up. What happens, for instance, if all the commitments in the programme for government are actually honoured? And then the numerous independent reports, commissions, etc., that actually are out there in this report, come back and recommend implementation, particularly those on the independents' wish list. Where is all the funding for these going to come from? And what area of public spending, which is necessary in the public interest, will suffer? Whether it's railway lines, roads, or many other vanity projects, many of these projects, I believe, are simply impossible to deliver. And I'm afraid the independents who are part of this government will find that out to their cost pretty quickly. Any government that is formed has to be on the basis of trust. And I believe there is no trust in this Fianna Fáil-Fine Gael arrangement with independents. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael took 70 days to write a 7-page generic agreement. That's 10 days per page. That was incredible. And now we have a government.
One voice, please.
And now we have a government with the support of 59 TDs, which was being negotiated literally until the very last few minutes. There is no real trust here. There is no common platform or purpose. And colleagues, we're all here to represent the public interest. So what about the public interest? Negotiating sweetheart deals around the country to stay in government is simply not in the public interest. We have often heard in here that decisions on Garda stations, schools, hospital wards, etc. should be based on objective expertise and be in the national interest. How can the deals that the independents stroked out of a weary and desolate and desperate Fine Gael be in the public interest? I hear through the media that we are getting a second cardiac unit for Waterford, for example. And that may be welcome, and that's fine. But I wonder how the people of the North West and Sligo, and particularly the deputies who represent Sligo here, feel today, seeing as they don't even have one permanent one in their area. These grubby little deals will all have to be published in full, Taoiseach, so that the public in this House will see every single detail, down to the last comma, and if any independent comes in here and says something else that is on that list subsequently, well, unfortunately, we'll have to call everything to account. I want to express some concerns also about the proposed reorganisation of ministerial roles and in particular the Department of Environment. 3 departments are replacing the old department, and I wish all the ministers the best. Firstly, I welcome the fact that we now have a department who has responsibility for climate change. I think that's critically important. However, I note from the way in which the department has been divided up in 3, there is no section on environment. So you might want to clarify, Taoiseach, where the function of environment and environment role is, and effectively who's going to be the Minister for Water. I wish those ministers the very best. The second issue I have is in relation to the community section of the department. Why did the last government spend so much time trying to integrate all of the community organisations with local government, when now it's gone? Similarly, while I support the concept of a housing minister in principle, it's not yet clear if the new Housing Minister will have additional powers over and beyond the ones that currently lie in the department that was constituted previously. I will reiterate my belief that I said here and in front of the Housing Committee, that banking rules, taxation policies, NAMA and rent supplement are all matters that should be governed by a Housing Minister. Otherwise, I believe creation of such a title and such a ministry will be pure tokenism, and I gravely doubt that this will materialise. There are also some hidden dangers in the measures proposed in the programme for government. They may cause even further delays in housing. While in no way do I oppose a review of the planning system, the point remains that planning permission is in place for over 27,000 units in Dublin for which no action is happening. What if the building industry and developers now, as a consequence of the programme for government, decide to wait until the reviews of planning and building standards are now complete before proceeding with developments? This would be an unintended and very negative consequence, Taoiseach, and something that I urge you to look at. It has the potential to delay housing response in the private sector in particular much further. And we will not ease all of our issues that we all have in relation to housing and homelessness, which we're all well aware. I'll also state that the actions proposed in the programme for government in housing, those laid out in the Trinity Treaty, for the most part are actually underway. And those that are listed in the programme for government are underway. In fact, of the 55 housing actions mentioned, over 40 of them are already underway, and another 4 of them were actually directly taken from our party's manifesto. I note today also that the commitment to generate 17,000 social housing keys across all schemes this year has been dropped. This is very concerning, and I'd like it explained. There is a need to keep building on the processes that are there. And let me state at this point that the first 3 months of 2016 saw the most number of people leave homelessness and into secure tenancies in Dublin. So we need to maintain the momentum that is there. And I think, Minister Kovdy, you really do need to take on the concerns that have universally been expressed and ideas in the Homelessness Committee, which I spoke at. Colleagues, despite all of that, I do wish this government well, genuinely. I think we all have the freedom of opposition. I think we all have a vested interest in this government lasting some period of time anyway. And the Labour Party, your former colleagues, will play a constructive role in this, will provide a solid, constructive and sensible, and I mean sensible, opposition at all times. And just for my colleagues in Sinn Féin, just because you keep saying that you're the main party of opposition doesn't actually mean that it's true. So keep repeating it, but we'll see into the future. However,
one voice.
However, given all the issues I have raised and taking them together with basically my former colleagues, blatant betrayal of those who did their legal and civic duty and paid their water bills, and their and Fianna Fáil's treasonable betrayal of the long-term national interest of delivering a modern water infrastructure that is fit for purpose, and in not pumping hundreds of tonnes of raw sewage into our rivers and seas on a daily basis. For that, and for all other reasons that I have stated at Ceann Comhairle, the Labour Party cannot support this coalition of puppetry of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and independence. Unfortunately, it is doomed to failure. Thank you.